Hello everyone and welcome. We're really excited to have you. This has been a course that we've been developing for the better part of 2 years, and the stars have finally aligned for us to share all this content, all this firsthand experience and learning with you, along with the collective lessons learned and best practices from the broader community as well. So welcome again. This is very much a unique course. There's no other course like it anywhere else. Certainly no course that spans the breadth of topics that we're going to be going through in this course. So really excited to have you. As suggested, the course materials come from our own experience, that of the Flying Labs and our partners as well, but also go much broader to the broader community and the collective lessons learned and best practices that have been learned by others in this space. All the material that you'll be going through is sourced and cited. If you see a picture or video that says credit unknown, it's simply because we've been not able to ascertain the original author and creator of that content, but we then make that explicit. You already have the course syllabus, so you have a good sense of the different topics we're going to be going through. You have my bio as well, so I won't go into that either. If you do have any questions on the course syllabus, my bio, or anything else related to the course, by all means, use the online learning management software. That's what it's there for, the online forum, and so on. What I want to do, just as a quick overview, is go through some of the key topics that we're going to be covering in the course of this training. But first, I want to quickly acknowledge some really quality feedback I've received on earlier versions of this course that has really helped me build this course out to what it is today. We recently ran a workshop, an in-person workshop on the use of medical cargo drones in public health. This was at the request of the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. This was a full-day training that included, obviously, experts from the CDC as well as public health experts from the Ministry of Health from Papua New Guinea, as well as other regional international stakeholders, including the World Health Organizations and so on. The phenomenal questions that I received throughout this training and in follow-up to this training have really been invaluable in helping to take this course to the next level and really get geared towards the key questions that leading experts and public health professionals have in this space. So very grateful to all the participants who engaged so actively throughout this training. I also want to give a shout out to my colleagues, Dr. Timothy Amukele from Johns Hopkins University, Dr. Andrew Schroeder from the Board of Directors of WeRobotics, as well as Sid Rupani from Lamasoft for their invaluable feedback on earlier versions of this course as well. It has really helped to shape the course into what it is today. So a big thanks to them. Also want to quickly take the opportunity to let you know how this content is going to be used throughout this course and in what formats. We'll be drawing on a fully customized slide deck with well over 400 slides that we at WeRobotics and our Flying Labs have been developing over the past 3.5 years. We also will have more than 30 fully customized video presentations for you that draw directly on our expertise and experience as well as that of the broader community. These videos tend to range between 5 to 10 minutes in length. Some are shorter, some are longer. In addition to that, we will have well over 40 other supporting videos that help really drive home the insights, the best practices, the lessons learned being communicated through the primary content of the video presentations. In addition, throughout the course, you'll see well over 100 high-resolution photos that further exemplify, validate the insights, the best practices, and lessons learned, and really help to give you a rich multimedia content and therefore understanding and insights into this space, making it very real for all participants. In addition, the course will include well over 30 diagrams, charts, tables, statistical results, and so on that directly relevant to the implementation, the design, the evaluation of cargo drone deliveries. In addition, we'll be drawing on well over 20 studies, peer-reviewed articles, reports, and so on to really provide some very rich empirical evidence to the discussion. In addition, you'll have access to a dedicated folder that we've personally curated over the years that include well over 30 recommended readings. And finally, you'll have available to you a number of downloadable workbooks that include other tools, other documents that are very practical, operational to inform your work in the cargo drone delivery space. So with that, let's have a look at some of the key topics we'll be covering in this course. This is not an exhaustive summary, but rather a select topics that we will be diving into quite some depth during the course. The first area we'll be obviously exploring is why even use cargo drones in public health. What are some of the challenges and opportunities? We'll be looking at the range of current and upcoming cargo drone technologies along with their advantages, disadvantages, sort of kind of cost-benefit analysis, their performance factors and other variables that are really relevant to the use of drones for cargo delivery. We'll be looking at different use cases in the use of cargo drones for transportation, obviously from a supply chain perspective. We'll be looking at the very real technical challenges in the use of cargo drones in public health. And we'll be highlighting these upfront to begin with, and then diving a lot deeper into these challenges and existing solutions based on lessons learned and best practices. We will be going through a really wide range of operational deployments, real-world case studies, and how cargo drones have already been used in public health. So not speculative, not science fiction, but giving you a very wide cross-section of different applications, different use cases, different technologies that have and continue to be used in cargo drones. This will be an essential component of the course to then really dive into the best practices and lessons learned from these collective operational deployments. We'll also be looking at ethics. This is going to be a big part of this course, and understanding the ethical implications, the ethical guidelines that exist in the use of cargo drones. We'll be looking at why it is so much easier to find the solutions rather than define the problems and finding compelling use cases for the use of cargo drones. We'll be looking at the political economy of this space, of the use of cargo drones, because it is very present and influences a lot of the discourse that we see today. And we'll be unpacking that very openly and potentially provocatively for some. But it really is important that we understand the bigger forces at play, both political and economic forces at play that have driven the cargo drone space to date. We're not in a vacuum here. We're not in a context where these technologies and the ecosystems are neutral by any means. We'll be looking at the importance of community engagement and other types of guidelines and codes of conduct in this space. We'll be looking at some of the debates and controversies that cargo drones have elicited over the years, and there are more and more, and it really behooves us to really unpacking what some of these controversies are about. Incredibly important. We'll be looking at how to engage with public health officials, stakeholder engagement with ministries of health. How do you do this well and effectively and responsibly? We'll be looking at really evaluating the cargo drone space and cargo drone technologies to date and what has already occurred in mapping drones that are obviously a lot more mature. But there are some real warning signs that we all need to be very, very well aware of. We'll be looking at the importance of safety mechanisms, redundant systems, and so on. We'll be looking at different cargo boxes, cargo-based solutions, cargo delivery solutions as well. A really important part of the cargo drone space that we really feel has been overlooked and continues to be largely overlooked is how important the cargo box components of projects that use cargo drones are. We'll be looking at some of the real problems and real safety issues around the use of cargo drone technologies, as well as human performance, on how do you not only evaluate appropriate cargo drone solutions, but how do you evaluate the teams and the manufacturers themselves that are potentially going to be involved in applying and implementing these solutions together with you. Really, really key to go into depth in there. We'll be looking at hybrid solutions. Cargo drones are not going to be the answer to everything. And in that respect, we'll be really looking critically into when cargo drones are in fact appropriate, when hybrid solutions combining cargo drones with other traditional deliveries are more appropriate as well. I've mentioned already cargo drone boxes. That'll be something we do a deep dive on, looking at advantages, disadvantages, risks, challenges, and so on. We'll be looking at the importance of cold chain, looking at how do you ensure temperature control in the delivery of medical supplies, of vaccines, obviously, that require cold chain. In addition, we will be looking at the importance of diversifying cargo drone deliveries in terms of the types of cargo that need to be delivered, again, drawing on existing studies and best practices. We'll be looking at the use of drone ports, how to select takeoff and landing sites, how to build a drone port based on lessons learned and best practices, and also questioning the need for extensive investments in drone ports. Not suggesting that they're not useful, but a lot of this course is about questioning what is potentially considered as obvious and logical. We really need to unpack a lot of the assumptions that have already been ingrained in a really deep way at a kind of a DNA level into this space and question everything. We'll be looking at the trade-offs between weight of payloads, of cargo boxes, cargo items, versus frequency of deliveries, and the notion of aerial conveyor belts and how that analogy might help inform some of our decisions. Weather is with us every day, every week, 24/7. How have different cargo drone companies approached this? How have those who do cargo drone operations worked around the challenges of weather? We'll be looking at the importance of checklists, logging, logbooks, and so on, looking at the importance of preventive maintenance, learning at how the aviation industry has already created a very safe industry, and looking at how we absolutely need to follow in those footsteps and what that entails. We'll be looking at the importance of localization and sustainability of cargo drone projects, cargo drone services as well. This is a big area that WeRobotics itself is directly engaged in, and we'll be sure to share with you some of the lessons that we have learned in sustainably localizing these kinds of emerging technologies. We'll be looking at evaluating cargo drone projects at both at a tactical and a strategic level, both at a micro, macro, and a systemic level as well. What ultimately is the overall impact on public health? How do we potentially measure that? And all the way down to the tactical level, what are the micro indicators for evaluation? We will be looking at how one shifts from doing pilot projects to long-term operational delivery services. That shift and pivot from pilot projects to long-term services is anything but trivial. In many respects, it's one of the biggest challenges that many actors in this space face. And so we'll be sharing the lessons being learned on that particular transition as well. We'll be looking at regulations, of course, and the opportunities and challenges of current regulations for cargo drone delivery services. We'll be looking at how do you best engage aviation authorities, again, stakeholder engagement with the aviation industry, both internationally and at the national level. We have learned a lot, having been engaged with dozens of aviation authorities as well as international organizations over the years, and we'll be sharing that along with the lessons from partners and others. Obviously looking at the importance of coordination, UTMs, and so on, what's coming up, what's already implemented. Regulations here is not limited in any way, shape, or form to aviation, but we'll be looking at medical regulations, medical requirements as well. We'll be doing cost-benefit analysis. How much does it currently cost to deliver essential medical supplies to hard-to-reach communities, for example? Looking at the figures there, really backing that up with some hard data. We'll be looking at ways to strategize around cargo deliveries as well, as far as different cargo types go, and how to prioritize appropriate transportation solutions with appropriate cargo solutions as well, and how this ultimately means the supply chain system moves from what some call push logistics to pull logistics, and we'll be unpacking that in detail as well. We'll be looking at the evidence to date of reports, peer-reviewed studies on the cost savings and the performance improvements in the use of cargo drones. We'll look at the latest insights on modeling of cargo drone deliveries and what those studies suggest for our future work in this space, and also potentially what some of these studies perhaps overlook as well in this context. We'll be going over how to do a detailed cost analysis in the use of drones. How do you know what the cost of deliveries will be per kilogram, for example? So we'll be looking at various estimators that have just recently surfaced that are still very much first sort of version prototypes, if you'd like, but are looking very promising. And we as a community have an important role to play in helping to shape further versions of these cost estimators as well. We'll be looking at business models. What are some of the main business models in operation today from some of the leading cargo drone projects, companies, services, and so on, and unpacking those to really get a sense of what the opportunities and challenges are in terms of being sustainable in cargo drone deliveries. And finally, we'll look at the future scenarios for the role of cargo drones in society, and by doing so, this video footage will become clear in terms of what it reflects. So there you have it, some of the key highlights that we're going to be discussing and learning about throughout the course. I hope you're excited. It really is material that's never been put together in any way, shape, or form like this before. There's a lot of content. You'll find it all very actionable and directly relevant and practical as well. In terms of our expectations for this course, the video presentations are absolutely key. That is where a lot of the important content is being shared. There's recommended readings as well. The online discussions, based on our experience, have been incredibly useful, incredibly enriching for participants and ourselves in engaging in some of the questions and challenges that do get raised in the video presentations and in the readings. The readings are optional. But we do really invite you to be actively involved in the online forum, to share questions, share your experience that you've had or that you've heard about that are relevant for this topic. We will also have 3 short assignments after some of the different sessions that you're going to be going through. Again, those are very targeted. They're meant to be directly relevant to applying what you have learned in a very real way. So those are really important as well. So thanks again. We really look forward to engaging with you. This is going to be really interesting for us as well, to be able to share what we've learned and what others and partners and others have learned in this space, to help all of us be smarter and better about how these kinds of technologies are used in public health. So thanks again for joining. Really looking forward to our conversations, and welcome again. Thank you.